Hi, I'm Kathleen Vigness-Raposa, and I'm a principal scientist with Inspire Environmental in the United States. I'm here to introduce you to Discovery of Sound in the Sea, or DOSITS, where we are communicating underwater acoustic research to a variety of audiences. I'd like to acknowledge my co-authors, Gail Scowcroft, Holly Moran, and Chris Knowlton from the University of Rhode Island's Graduate School of Oceanography. I have been the subject matter expert over the years, along with an advisory panel, and Gail, Holly, and Chris are specialists in translating difficult scientific content for teachers, educators, and decision makers. My talk today is going to introduce you to the resources that we've developed for DOSITS, and most recently we've been focusing on resources needed for decision makers. So to best address this audience, we've conducted needs assessments that provide us background on decision makers and what their history and needs are in terms of topics of interest and what resources they use. And of those, I'm going to focus on the webinar series that we've been doing most recently. So DOSITS as a project has been around for over 15 years. We began with a website, dosits.org, that now includes over 400 pages of content. That content is at both a basic level, which is about an 8th grade reading level, and then there is advanced content, which is at the level of undergraduate college level. We've translated that content into printed booklets, 16-page booklets, and then a trifold brochure. And those are available as PDFs on our website or as printed material that we can provide to you. We've also developed 2 interactive ebooks that are free on our website and available through the iBook store. We've also developed structured tutorials, instructional videos, and webinars. And today I'm going to focus on the website and those last 3 resources. So if you've never been to DOSITS, this is what our front page looks like. Again, it's dosits.org is the URL. And across the top, we have a changing banner that highlights new topics that are there, which can also be found in this lower section of what's new. With over 400 pages of content, users sometimes find it difficult to find new and exciting things that we've developed. So we've focused this new section. The hot topics section is designed to focus on things that are in the current topics that the media may be covering, for example, COVID. And there's been recent research about how COVID and the decrease in shipping has resulted in underwater acoustic changes in the environment. The content, the 400 pages that I mentioned, are designed into 3 major sections. There's a Science of Sound section, an Animals in Sound section, and a People in Sound section. There are also 4 galleries that are focused on specialized topics. The audio gallery provides information on underwater sound sources, from marine mammals such as whales and dolphins, to fishes and invertebrates, to anthropogenic sounds such as a torpedo being shot out, or natural sounds such as lightning striking, and what does that actually sound like underwater. The career gallery is designed to provide users with information on how you can use acoustics in a wide variety of jobs and actually get paid to do underwater sound. The Scientist Gallery is conversations with 4 researchers who have established themselves in the field of acoustics and how they got to be where they are today and recommendations that they have for others that are interested in becoming scientists. And finally, the Technology Gallery is designed for people that really like the gear and the equipment associated with underwater acoustics. So if you go to a DOSITS webpage, you will see lots of different colors. The blue underlined are internal links. As I mentioned, with over 400 pages of content, it's often in that web structure. It's interesting to find other pieces and content that are related and allow you to dive deeper into information. There's also glossary terms, which are the orange underlined words. And as you hover your mouse over that term, the glossary will pop up. So there's lots of jargon and kind of lexicon that others may not understand if they're not familiar with a topic. And so there's an easy way for you to get that glossary term. Finally, there are inline citations, peer-reviewed literature. We are very strongly bound to using peer-reviewed literature and basing all of our content on peer-reviewed literature. And the website itself also goes through peer review. As I mentioned, that advisory panel has reviewed all content that is on the website. And again, you hover your mouse over and that literature will pop up. So if you're a scientist who wants to understand more details and go back to that primary literature, it's available for you right there. And then finally, at the bottom of each page, there's additional resources, additional links on docets to provide you, again, that deeper dive, and then those specific references for where you can go for more information. So as I mentioned, we've been focusing on decision makers lately. And so we've conducted 3 needs assessments and are actually just beginning our 4th one. And I'll provide a link for you at the end if you'd like to provide your comments. But what we found is that decision makers, less than half of them have had any formal education related to acoustics. About half have a master's degree and about a third have a PhD. But the majority of them have been in biological sciences. So most of their work is on the job training related to underwater acoustics or attending professional meetings and conferences such as this one. They need to make decisions in days most of the time, and so they really need to have ready access to information. Occasionally, or sometimes they do have up to several months to make a decision. So they use peer-reviewed literature, technical reports, and other government resources and databases. The topics that they are most interested in is the potential impacts of underwater sound to individual animals, but then also building that up and looking at the population level and the sort of what does this really mean question. They're also interested in the long-term effects of noise on marine animals and how multiple sources or cumulative effects can come and have impacts, again, both at that individual level and the population level. They're interested in learning more about how they can mitigate and monitor to reduce potential effects, and then what are potential behavioral and physical effects. The resources that would assist with their decision making, they've said they use internet resources, including self-driven tutorials, workshops or short courses associated with conferences, webinar series, and then short educational videos. And so those 3 that are highlighted are the work that we've been doing lately and what I'll focus on next. So structured tutorials are designed to provide that normal sequential development of knowledge, like you would find in a classroom, where you start with a very individual basic concept and then build up and gradually increase the complexity of the topic. So there are 3 topics that we've developed tutorials for: that effects of underwater sound on marine animals, how do you determine if a sound affects a marine animal, and walking through the ecological risk assessment process, and the science of sound. And these tutorials are a great way to look at individual topics and, again, provide that sequential development so that that web-based structure, it helps you understand where to go next. And you can jump around and go to other topics within that tutorial. You're not bound to be in there once you're there. But it does provide that linear sequence that may be difficult if you don't know the topic well. Instructional videos are short 3 to 5 minute summaries that can be viewed on handheld devices and computers. And this was really an acknowledgement of the fact that sort of the YouTube generation, where people really like to look at videos and have people explain things to them. So we've done 4 topics: the science of sound, marine mammal hearing, hearing in marine fishes, and then determining mitigation and monitoring through the ecological risk assessment process. This is a clip from the beginning of the Science of Sound instructional video to give you a sense of what the videos are like.
Sound travels as a wave through a medium, such as water. Sound actually cannot exist if it doesn't have a medium to travel through. A sound wave is an example of a compressional or longitudinal wave. The particles in a longitudinal wave move parallel to the direction in which the wave is traveling. A sound wave alternately compresses and expands whatever medium it is traveling through.
Finally, we've developed a webinar series. We've been occurring since 2015. So we've hosted 17 webinars that have varied across the themes of what is the fundamental science of underwater sound, what is sound reception in marine mammals and fishes, sound production in marine mammals and fishes, and then the potential effects of underwater sound on marine mammals and marine fishes. Last year, we focused on sound sources themselves. So how does seismic air guns and pile driving and wind turbines, commercial vessel traffic, echo sounders, and sonar. And so it wasn't the effects, that was the year before, but it was really those sound sources and how they work. And this year's has been looking at regulatory approaches to underwater sound. So on June 2nd, we had a fundamentals of underwater sound to kick off that webinar series and make sure everyone understood the basic science. On July 23rd, we had Jolie Harrison from the U.S. National Marine Fisheries Service talk about their regulatory approach to underwater sound. On October 22nd, Liz Henderson talked about passive acoustic data and how that's being used to inform the decision-making process. And then on November 19th, Klaus Luco is going to be talking about the regulatory approach to underwater noise, the US compared to that of the EU and other locations. And when you look at the webinar series, there is an outline that shows you associated docets links so that you understand what the webinar is going to talk about and then can read that background information so that you are ready and prepared for that 1 hour long webinar. Once the webinar occurs, you can download a PDF of the presentation, but you can also watch the webinar in real time. So the take home is that docets provides the science-based resources on underwater sound for a variety of audiences. Webinars provide this interactive plus archival medium to meet the needs. We are providing a certificate of professional development if you watch all 4 webinars in the 2020 series, so feel free to contact me if you're interested in that. You can register for upcoming webinars on our website, participate in our needs assessment through our SurveyMonkey, and contact me if you have any more questions. Thank you for your time.